My name is Vijay Iyer. I'm a pianist and composer based in New York City, and I'm very excited to be collaborating again with Brentano String Quartet. I grew up playing violin. My first instrument was violin. I played formally. I took 15 years of violin lessons from age 3 to age 18, and I played lots of string quartets, and I played in orchestras, and I played a lot of the solo repertoire, real blood and guts kind of stuff, Beethoven and Brahms and Mendelssohn and Bruch and all this stuff, and it's very close to my heart, even though what I'm known for as a pianist is in the jazz world, and it's much more about rhythm and about improvisation and about spontaneity and interaction, and about real-time creation. I feel like I kind of relate to you guys as a violinist. So as a former or kind of recovering violinist, so I think I want to write for strings in an almost romantic way. I have this kind of like nostalgic, romantic kind of sound in my ears. I want to just sort of feel that enveloping sound that Brentano is so magically good at. And that can be inspiring for me just as a sonic experience that would inspire me as an improviser. So I think that my role as a pianist will be largely improvisational. It's easy to start writing in a lyrical way for piano so that it sort of somehow merges with the strings, but instead to write in a way that highlights the kind of tension between the continuous nature of strings and the more vocal quality of strings and the more percussive quality of piano is interesting to me. And especially as someone who's spent a lot of time playing violin and a lot of time playing piano, I like how different they are. I do know that there are different approaches to rhythm. I mean, having kind of lived in both worlds extensively, you know, I know that in a classical ensemble, the pulse is very malleable, and that's sort of where a lot of the expressive control lies, is over very small degrees of rubato, tempo, stretching and bending and stuff like that. In the music that I tend to do in my own ensembles, it's more groove-oriented, which means that the pulse is steady. But there's still a lot of rhythmic expression, and that part of it is about how you place yourself in relation to a steady pulse. Where are you before, you know, behind or ahead of the beat, on top of it, or behind, or, you know, fine-grained details in the realm of what we call micro-timing, you know, the area between the beats, even between what's notatable, you know, between the notated subdivisions of a beat, for example. Basically the feel questions. You know, when I think of non-Western music from Africa and its diaspora, South Asia and its diaspora, the steady pulse and the sort of like dance orientation is that's been more influential on the kind of music that I've done in my own ensembles. And that Western orientation towards rubato and expressive variation of tempo is, you know, that's specific to this classical world. That's kind of a new area, I think. Finding a way to bridge those two sensibilities about time. I've done some experiments with tempo and with tempo modulation in my trio, and some of it's inspired actually by Javanese gamelan music. where there'll be these kind of transformations of the time feel that happen gradually. It sort of will slow down, at the same time new rhythmic information will emerge in the textures. So rather than completely slowing down to half tempo, you might do that while doubling the feel, doubling the sensation of time, so then suddenly somehow you wind up in a version of the same place. So these kinds of interesting transformations can happen with rhythm and with tempo. And that's something I've explored quite a bit, including in my, the title track to Cello Rondo, the album of mine that came out in 2012. In a way, that was kind of a systematic exploration of that very dichotomy between expressive timing, or expressive variation of tempo, and these things we call groove. And is it possible to groove while accelerating, or groove while in the midst of a ritardando? And can you cycle or loop or sustain a ritardando, for example? Can you keep up that sense of constantly slowing down while still staying in one place? It's kind of like this Escher illusion of tempo, like a tempo staircase or something like that. So these are things that I like to explore with an ensemble, because it's something we can do interactively, where, what might be notated is actually only a handful of measures, but where the music lies is in the interactive achieving of it in a cyclical way, where every moment of it is interactive, where even the question of what to do when, or what to do next, or when you do your next event is interdependent, is strongly dependent on everything else that everyone else is doing. It kind of creates a different level of interactivity. It's where the score is a stimulus for it, but something else is happening that's beyond the score, actually. Then in a way, it's all of our music. It's not just me. It's not just my music. It's us taking action together. And that's what has always excited me about music. That it's something that we can do together.